It all started with a completely ordinary hiking and as it goes on a hike like that, you start thinking about the important things in life. As we are hiking through the terrain, it suddenly hits me again. That old geezer lying on the ground, my brother, is turning 50 soon. And he once mentioned how much he loves my sculpted hats. The way back home was long and rocky, but the idea stuck. And because stone heads don't just pop up out of nowhere like instant toast, add water and there you go, we're off the hardware store, which is where every great story starts anyway. And this time we are there to grab cement, which is going to be our glue for this project. It's Solnhofer cement, produced not far from here, through the motto, buy local. To make it, domestic limestone and clay are finally ground, fired into clinker at over 1400 degrees Celsius and then proceed back into powder. A truly natural product from the region and the perfect foundation for our heads. When you buy cement, make sure the bags aren't hot. They clump up if they're absorbing moisture and those lumps can expand later on and ruin your head. For one head we need 2 up to 2.5 bags. I still have some leftover stock, so 2 bags will be enough. And as every child knows, cement alone doesn't buy happiness. This is why we have to hit the road again. On the second trip, we bought the final main ingredient for the head, potting soil. Wait, potting soil, you ask? Exactly, we're making Hypertufa. And that doesn't use gravel or sand, it uses potting soil. Why no stones or sand? Because Hypertufa is much lighter and it looks more natural. Now we need a mold. Years ago, I carved the basic shape of the head out of a rotten chopping block. And then I used molding clay to give it its final shape and coat it with a fiberglass. Wood probably doesn't need an explanation, but fiberglass is glass fiber with an acrylic or epoxy hardened. When it comes to concrete molds, epoxy resins are the best choice. They are highly dimensionally stable, chemical resistant and completely waterproof. This prevents the mold from warping during casting, allowing you to reuse it again and again and again. Sadly, the mold didn't get any better over the years. I actually wanted to limit the heads to 10 pieces anyway, which is why it just sat in the corner. Forgotten, but let's take a closer look to the mold. Over time, the cement aggressively destroyed the resin and only the fiberglass remains. The mold comes in 2 halves that separate after pouring. For the last cast, I used very strong green pigments. They are still inside the mold and they really get in the way of this new project. While I'm removing these annoying green bits, I have a question for you. Have you ever worked with Hypertufa or even heard about it? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to see how popular this actually is. Maybe we can make this awesome material more popular together. Because the mold has some damages and holes now, I'm using tried and true methods. Modeling clay. It hides the holes and will definitely withstand the casting process. This stuff is so good, you could actually build the entire mold out of it. And with that, let's get back to the mold making. I had to build a stiffening frame around the fiberglass body to stabilize and support the mold. Since I placed the wooden head directly on the ground in the garden, insects were able to decompose the inside. That made it incredibly easy to remove the rotten wood. You can also see the modeling clay here in the pictures, which I used to give the head this smoothie finish. Now it's time for the form oil. Man, I wish I didn't know about this much sooner. The first heads didn't come out of the mold so easily. But this release agent is an absolute game changer. However, for this project we have to be really careful where we apply the oil, because it could completely ruin our work. Many modern release agents don't just create a physical barrier, they also contain active ingredients that react with the cement to create a soapy separating layer, and as a nice side effect they leave behind a perfect smooth surface. The final oiling is done. While the release agent soaks in, let's move on mixing the ingredients. Potting soil, which is hopefully peat reduced, but contains a lot of courses, pieces and twigs. We need to break up the clumps and remove most of the branches. In the end, we want a fine substrate left behind. I want to create some striking accent on this head using various pigments. Those pigments are ultraviolet resistant, and just a tiny amount is enough to completely dye the Hypertufa. Now we add the cement. A 4:3 ratio works best. This mix has always worked well for me and is completely frost resistant. Next, the potting soil, the cement and the pigment mix gets a thoroughly dry blending. It's crucial to always mix it dry first. The moment you add water, the mixing is over, and if you try it any other way, you will fail. Next, we add the water and stir until it turns into a paste. The soil will completely soak up the water. The moment the mixture gets wet, the color changes instantly and become black as my soul. With this paste, I'm now coating the areas of the mold that I want to be darker later on. You could also mix the pigments with the cement on the finished head and paint it on like a color. But my artist soul tells me it has to be done exactly the way I'm doing it right now. And besides, this is by far the most enjoyable step of the whole project. The design reminds me of the Rapa Nui Moai on the Easter Islands. They were a huge inspiration for my own unique take. Even though the original were carved centuries ago and still existing today, this head wouldn't last quite that long, but it will still stand for many years. Besides, it's just from my brother. Originally I planned to buy 2 of them, but they were far too small and mostly CNC milled, just boring. That's why I decided to make the heads myself. Making the heads out of Hypertufa was a no-brainer from the start. It's incredibly lightweight, super easy to work with, and looks even better the older it gets. The organic components literally petrify, and if a twig does break out, it looks even more natural. But this material also has its downsides. It takes weeks to fully cure and it reacts to the heat. That's why I made the others in autumn or spring when the garage is frost-free but still cold enough.
Die Temperaturen erreichen vor der Front 21 bis 28, sonst 15 bis 22 Grad.
The weather seems just right, and as you probably noticed, I'm using titanium white now to create a striking contrast. I'm really excited to see how the white turns out later, a true yin and yang effect. I made the first head back in April 2022, and it's been sitting outside ever since, holding up against the weather. Every now and then I pour some water over it, hoping it might catch some moss and lynches like the yellow or the red head do, but it just won't. Well, every head has its own character, just like in the real life. I will leave you guys alone for a brief moment. Just to be safe, I always throw some wire mesh into the mold to stop stress cracks. Better safe than sorry. Throwing the mix in with some force to get rid of any air bubbles.
Use some force until the hammer echoes loud and hoarse. Hold my fear, the shells coming down. We're building our own world in this town. Shovels swinging loud and free. Pour that concrete happy
I need to be careful here. If the inner wall caves in, it's game over for the whole project. Now you can really see how much this mold has taken a beating over the years. It was only supposed to last for 10 heads and that's it, finish. But since I can't throw anything away, this head probably gonna end up looking like Sloth from the Goonies.
Molds in the trash, the veteran moves on. Crank up the music, the old days are gone. Cheers.
Honestly, I could really use another pair of hands here. It's totally pain in the ass trying to get this beaten up mold back into shape. Now it's all about sealing the remaining gap and getting this done before the inner wall caves in. Nach altem Brauch und Sitte trinkt man ein Bier und dann schmeißt man den Scheiß in die Mitte. The fact that the pyramid builders in ancient Egypt drank so much beer wasn't just an after-work party culture, it was completely intentional. With an alcohol content of 2 up to 3%, the brew worked like doping and pain relief all in one. Without that beer, they'd probably still be building those things today. The stuff kept muscles loose, quenched the thirst, packed a massive energy punch, and dulled the pain. You could pretty much say beer is the secret behind the wonders of the world. On that note, cheers! Jetzt ist nicht mehr umrühren. Und dann schauen wir, dass wir die Schlitze zumachen. Komme ich nämlich nicht mehr rein, weil ich so fett bin. Now slam those clumps right into the mold, but whatever you do, don't touch the outer wall. If that thing's collapse, it's game over. If you have watched this video up to this point, you have my full respect. And if you wanna know how to get my full gratitude too, there's a thumbs button down there that's completely free to smash. It really helps keep me motivated to make more videos. If small YouTubers like me disappear, all that's left is AI videos that nobody wants to watch anyway. Nach allem Brauch und Sitte trinken wir wieder einen Schluck und schmeißen wir wieder was in die Mitte. Das ist für die toten Maurer. Pouring out the first or the last sip is a way to pay respect to dead co-workers. This Asian drinking ritual is still alive and well today in bars and construction trades. Warum mache ich das immer im Sommer? Nach altem Brauch und Sitte trinkt man wieder einen Schluck und speien sie in die Mitte. Für die toten Maurer. Jetzt zu mir. And that's how it goes, bag after bag, bucket after bucket, until the head is completely filled up. I'm also adding white to the mixture too, just in case I need to do some touch-up work later, so the colors doesn't clash too much. Auf einem Bein kann der Maurer nicht stehen. The official world record for standing on one leg only is over 76 hours and 40 minutes. Luckily, we are almost done here because the head's nearly full. Nach altem Brauch und Sitte springt der Maurer auf die Brigitte. Ist doch wurscht. Für die toten Maurer. Good from afar, Good from afar, but far from good. Pack it with a comb and face the wood. Always put some rebar into the neck to stop the head from the breaking. Never happened yet, but it can't hurt. The last bag of potting soil. The end is near. Adding more cement and extra water for the base. Needs to handle the wet ground, plus the top is wide open and dries out like crazy. Der letzte Eimer steht bereit. Wollen wir alle hoffen, dass heute nicht schneit. Ja. Prost. Nach aller Sauf und Grippe kriegst du den Namen Wilbert. Every head is dedicated to a woman, and this one is Wilbert. In pre-Christian Celtic mythology, Wilbert is defined as a moon goddess, standing for the constant up and downs of life and the tides. As the white one, she is the force spinning the thread of life, making sure that light is reborn from the darkness of the winter. 4 Stunden betoniert. Das ist leicht. Oh, da trinken wir erstmal ein Bier, oder? If the weather stayed this mild, the head will cure nice and even. It is gonna release some distinct fumes, totally different from regular concrete. Smells like propane gas and compost. The excess bleeding water will keep draining for a couple of days from now.
In diesem Jahr macht der Juni einen auf ziemlich üble Schafskälte und er versucht hinten raus ab Tag 10, 11 dann wieder in die Wärme bzw. in die Hitze zu gehen.
Kai's weather forecast seems to be on our side, so nothing should really go wrong now. Just gonna hope the weather actually listened to Kai. Hypertufa behaves completely different than normal concrete made by sand and gravel. The curing process takes a hell of a long time.
Wir kriegen ein paar heiße bis sehr heiße Tage, die ja per Definition jetzt Wüstentage heißen.
Sadly, the weather didn't stick to the forecast at all and completely flipped. The head had to cure right when Bavaria was hitting its hottest days since years.
Auf dass uns die Nornen wohlgesonnen sind.
Just gonna hope it didn't trash the whole thing. All we can do now is count on those toasts so that dead masons have worked. We're about to find out, so stick around.
Wohnen wir nicht in einem schönen Land? Dieses Bild sieht aus wie gemalt. Es ist jetzt erst einmal vorbei. Vorbei nicht mit dem Sommer, sondern mit dieser extremen Hitze.
Honestly, the head looks exactly how I want it to be. But no time to celebrate, the first signs of heat damage are already showing. Ja, mehr hilft nix. In English, no use crying over spilled milk. Time to give it the finished touches. I'm using a round brush to smooth out the offsets between the two halves and making some details you just can't get from the casting. Oh man, that cast should definitely not be sounding hollow. That's not good at all. Because of the heat, the cast dried out from the outside while the chemical reaction was still ongoing inside. And the damage is worse right where the two halves of the mold meet. I can completely forget about this head for the 50th birthday. This project just went down the drain. Fate was against me. It was only supposed to be 10 heads from the very start. That is just how it was meant to be. Wheelbase represents the up and downs of life, and right now we are heading straight down, and it's a long way down. Sure, there are worse things in life, but this isn't a life coach channel or war reporting. It's a channel about more or less successful garden projects. But that is just how it goes with Hypertufa. It's an awesome material that is easy to use and gives you great results. But the weather just wasn't on our side. The video could easily end right here, but I have still got an ace up my sleeve. After all, the old man has absolutely no idea he is even getting anything. Time to clean up the mess of my failure and think about a backup plan. I have already got a few ideas. A tiny seed of an idea has just dropped and it's starting to sprout. Stay tuned, this is about to get really awesome. The molds are going straight into the trash now. There's definitely not gonna be a 12th head. Whether I will ever make a mold like this again, I don't know yet, but I wouldn't rule it out either. But just so you don't miss it, there's a button down there and you can hit it for free. And if you activate the bell, you will stay in the loop whenever I drop a new video. Huge thanks in advance. I'm amazed you're still watching.
Bei der Macht vom Größten.
I actually put something aside years ago. Could be exactly what I need to turn this into a killer present after all. But for that I still need something very important. So I can't use this head for it. It's way too good for my brother. No, just kidding. It's just not right for this because it has a hand embedded in the back of the head. Plus, it's just too good for the 50th birthday anyway. If this head were made of a normal concrete with sand and gravel, there's no way I could lift it back up by myself. But since it's Hypertufa, it only weighs as much as 2.5 bags of cement and 4 bags of potting soil, so less than 100 kilograms.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
actually built this hedge just for this bamboo hedge and gave away the rest, which brings us back to the beginning of the story. I couldn't find any heads I liked, so I had to make it my own. You saw how simple it is and you learned the hard way what to watch out for. Now comes the part where you find out how rock hard these things really get after a couple of years in the wild. So stick around. This is gonna be the 5th birthday head. I don't feel completely right about giving away this old soldier, but whatever. The old man doesn't turn 50 that often, and in a few years I'm gonna steal it back anyway. Any guess yet? Drop your ideas into the comment below. Let's see if anyone can guess it right. Nope, it's not a unicorn. No, it's definitely not a unicorn. A motorcycle lift like this is really something special. I built this old thing 23 years ago and it blows my mind every single time that it is still working. The steel spikes are actually meant to be welded onto a fence, so they are actually too short, but the steel is weldable, so we are just gonna extend them. For this I'm cutting the rebar into several short pieces. Actually I'm just snap it right off. Now that the rebar is broken into small pieces, we can align the tips and weld on the extensions. Mathematically speaking, 11 spikes is a sweet spot. few headshots later, we can glue the spikes in, but make damn sure to blow out the holes first. I'm using mortar for this, which stupidly contains small stones, something I kind of underestimated, but you will see that right now. Ta-da! The little bastards just refuse to let the rods slide in and are completely blocking the way. If force doesn't work, then brutal force will do. Needs to be delivered, and that's where my neighbor comes in. He's always ready to help out as long he's getting a beer. He will do anything for it, seriously, pretty much anything. And since beer always brings out the the best ideas, we brainstorming hardly and came up with the simplest and laziest solution possible.
So.
Like and subscribe, don't forget.
Happy birthday, you all!